Well, welcome back. I'm Marlene Champlin, sidekick to our host, Ed Parcaut, here at Real Estate Jerky on Power Talk 1360 KFIV, where we always give you something to chew on. If you've got questions for Ed, please dial 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915, or visit lendingforliving.com. And now, without further ado, please welcome our guest, Jolene Daly, candidate for Congress of our newly created District 5. Welcome, Jolene.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I am really excited about the start of communicating with the individuals in District 5 and really the start here on Real Estate Jerky and last week on the show with technically Ed, but the Mike show. Yeah.
Mike Douglas show.
Yes, thank you.
Filling in after Christmas. It was nice having you on to kind of talk about it because it's so brand new. Things have just come out. And I want people to understand what's going on and why, why it was cut up and why it was done the way it was. But we are also a real estate show. So we always talk about real estate and other things. But I first want to find out, why are you running for Congress?
I am running for Congress.
Wrong. I'm just kidding.
I'm running for Congress because I'm concerned about people. We've forgotten that we are people behind everything that's happening, whether it's a decision about a mandate or a decision about the market for housing, whatever the case may be, we are people here. And we have to be able to function as individuals in order to fulfill what the Constitution gives us the ability to do, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I don't know about you, but the happiness has been lacking probably for the last couple of years because of everything that's gone on. And so my biggest concern is really going back to the relationships of human beings and the connection that we're missing completely.
Marlene, did you have any questions before I jump in? Because you didn't talk to her last week like I did. So,
No, I'm going to let you guys ride this one. I think one of the things that that we spoke about, Jolene, when I talked to you, was you are running on what I find to be very unusual, but also very telling for the times, a mental health platform. What is that?
So I am a mental health provider. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I found my passion later in life. I've done several different jobs from sales to retail. And finally, at the age of 32, I went back to college. Did not start out in psychology field at all. I started out in business, which was really more of what I was doing at the time, and transitioned from business to human services management, and then ultimately a master's degree in clinical psychology. Being that I've watched really the last 10 years of working with individuals one-on-one, recognizing that everything that we do in society, every law that's made, every decision that's made by our representatives affects our mental health. You look at the gas prices, we're paying more for gas than we have in years. And so that eliminates your ability to maybe say, go to the movies or have a gym membership. So that is what we do to cope when we're struggling. If we don't have access to those things, we're not going to be a happy, healthy society. Everything stems back to mental health.
The other day I was sitting in my dining room that sits off from the sunroom, and my wife was talking to Margaret. I'm just kidding. That's what the Biden said about $5 hamburger. He was shocked how much, hamburgers gotten to $5 and all that. The problem is a lot of the politicians are so out of touch of normal people. Mm-hmm. They have no idea what the cost is. They don't understand that we're paying more for gas than we've ever paid for gas in California. Mm-hmm. And usually it's because a refinery shut down. There's only 3 of them that do California gas, and usually one's on getting repairs. But this is that right there takes so much, and then you can't afford, so do I get a gallon of gas or do I get a thing of hamburger to feed the family? Mm-hmm. What are we going to do about these kind of things? Because this is all inflation. This is all caused by not having energy efficient, having our own energy like we were before. And we stopped that pipeline to sell Green Deal. And how do we fix this? So my question really to you is, what's your top 5 goals once you get to Washington?
That's a hard one because we have to remember there's a couple of problems going in. One, I'm only one person. There are a ton of other people working in other districts like myself, grassroots, to be able to get to whether it's Congress or state Senate or assembly. And two, Congress can only do so much. Congress is basically the wallet of the government. And so we have to really take everything back to that. The big things that I see that we need to address are domestic supply, whether it's domestic supply of energy or domestic supply of products. We need to get back to domestic supply and stop relying on the other countries to bring the ships in. Then we don't have to worry about the problems with getting the ships onto the docks and then onto the trucks, et cetera, et cetera. That will eliminate some inflation. We have to worry about.
We're talking to Jolene Daly, Republican California Congressional candidate for District 5. You can reach out to Jolene at joleneforcongress.com. That's joleneforcongress.com. Or you can dial her up at 209-360-9223. If you've got questions for Ed, you can reach out to Ed by dialing 209-404-1915. That's 209-404-1915 or lendingforliving.com. You can also email us at radio@realestatejerky.com. Jolene, yes, Congress. I like how you describe what Congress is. It's the wallet. I love that. So,
All right, number two, you're on two.
So,
Yeah.
number two, we have to hold states accountable. This is where Congress can come in and control the finances that go to each state. We have to control the fact that, let's say California has not used the money that we, the voters, voted for in 2014 to increase our water structures, our water infrastructure. So what is the reason that has not been done? What is the reason that we're not producing the gas that we need to in order to make sure that we don't have this problem where we have this ridiculous amount of gas or price for gas? What is the reason that we're not putting the gas tax into our roads? I don't know about you, but I drive and there's foot deep potholes. Or I do know one local city who has acknowledged that there hasn't been anything done with their roads since the 80s. That is a problem. These things need to be held accountable. We need to have a balanced budget. We can no longer work on this predictive budget that seems to be happening, or a budget when we have no money. I know you guys have businesses or know of people who have businesses. I can't run my business in a deficit. I would have no business. So what is the reason the government believes that they can run their business in a deficit? It's the same thing. We have to work on Senate and Congress or representatives having term limits. There needs to be a limit in the amount of power that those individuals have. And then we also need to reduce the number of non-elected officials that are being paid through the government that really don't need to be there. The bureaucracy needs to change.
They need to get rid of lobbyists.
Yes.
Because we talk about this all the time, is people go in broke, right? Because they just paid for their campaign. And all of a sudden now they're worth 20, 30, 40 million by the time their first term's up, their second term's up, they're worth. Now you got Nancy Pelosi worth some ridiculous amount of millions over the time that she's been in. And it's like, but you only get paid $100 and some a year. So how are you making that money? Right? Mm-hmm. We know how she's making the money, but that's a question. And that's what you have to look at. Anybody you run up against that's running for Congress or whatever, it's like, how much were you worth when you came in and how much are you worth now? How did you get there? That tells you corruption. So.
Yes. Or how do you want to run? I am definitely doing this as a public service. If I wanted to do something for myself, I would go back to working my 4 days a week in my cush little office and go home and do the things that I like to do. However, I'm taking this sacrifice, this step up. I've already cut back a day and a half, which is a third of my income at my office. I'm going to have to cut back even more as the transition into the campaign really moves forward. Public servant. That's exactly what it is. It's nothing more than that. It is, in essence, a leadership role only because they're in a spotlight, but it's representing. And you talk about lobbyists. I'm not going to represent any lobbyist. I'm going to represent District 5, period. I'm not going to vote what somebody tells me to vote. I'm going to vote what District 5 wants or what is in the best interest of District 5.
All right, so we're gonna have to go to break here in a second, and you can answer this when we come back. But people heard us on the radio last week, and they were saying they don't know if you are mean enough to run for Congress. So when we come back, you can answer that question. Go ahead, Marlene.
All right. Well, politics, you can be sick of politics. You can even be sick of politicians. But what you can't do is ignore politics, or worse, give up and check out. So do not let others tell you, vote for you, rule you. So no quitters here, please. And that's one of the reasons we started Real Estate Jerky way back when. We realized that first-time home buyers, young families around the Central Valley weren't buying homes. And unlike today, affordability wasn't the issue. Anyway, Ed's promise and mine is if any issue will negatively affect you and your family, we'll educate ourselves and get to know the problem and get to the bottom of it, figure out how to change it, make it better right here on Real Estate Jerky, right here on a radio broadcast. Can you believe it? It's true. So if you've got something on your mind that's affecting your home ownership experience or your ability to own, we want to hear about it. If you think there's a better way, we want to hear about it. This is the place. So reach out to Ed Parcaut, our host, at 209-404-1915. And when we come back, we're going to talk more with Jolene Daly, our California Republican Congressional candidate for District 5. That's us, people. So don't go away. This is Real Estate Jerky on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. I'm Marlene Champlin, sidekick to our amazing host, Ed Parcaut, MBA veteran, mortgage guru, and president of Lending for Living. We're picking up where we left off with Republican candidate for Congress, District 5, Jolene Daly. Jolene, so when we left, we were talking about the top things that you are set to do if you get to Washington, when you get to Washington, no if, they'll say when you get to Washington. One of the things I want to know right now is, what do you think the homeowners need?
So I'm going to answer Ed's question real quick that we talked about before the break about me being not so mean. I'm a little nice
Jolene,
person.
start over. We couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry. Could you start over that answer?
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for the question. I'm definitely going to answer that because I am interested in housing in our area as well. I'm going to real quick answer the question that Ed had before we went to break about me being a nice person. I'm definitely a nice person. This is where the mental health component comes in again. I can be extremely angry about a situation and behave like an adult. That's where I don't know where in the world we kind of have missed that in society. We can disagree, we can move forward and be friends, whatever the case may be. I don't have to behave in a poor manner. Trust me, I'm not moving. If I have this idea that is best for District 5, nothing's going to prevent me from moving out of that direction. I'm not going to be controlled. I'm not going to be managed by anyone. And again, I think I said last week, everybody that I've told since then thinks it's hilarious that people think that I'm really nice. I am very nice because there's a time and a place. So the housing market, again, it goes back to, I think, a couple of different things: domestic supply and regulations. We have now in Stanislaus County, because, or in probably in a lot of the Central Valley, because of the Bay Area people that are coming over, which is great because it helps our economy. Unfortunately, what it does is it drives our housing prices because they can sell theirs and then come here and purchase a house almost outright. And then it makes it so individuals here cannot purchase homes. My husband and I were lucky. We purchased a home in 2016 before everything got really bad or increasing again. So what we have to do is we have to go not necessarily to government assistance for homes. We have to get to homes that people here want to purchase, can afford. And in order to do that, we have to increase our supply of houses. And then you have to decrease regulations in order to be able to build maybe smaller houses, multifamily homes, whatever the case may be that is best for the particular area that you're in, it's going to look different, say for Manteca than it would for Houston.
So, Jolene, hey, have you looked at this, the president's Build Back Better plan? Have you looked at, is there any good in it?
I think at this point, any additional spending needs to stop. Whether it looks good or doesn't look good, we have to come back to what is the appropriate budget, what are the funds that we have coming in, and stick to that period until we can become healthier economically. If we can get to the point where we can do these things, great. We need to do also better care at taking care of the people in America first. Whatever that looks like, whether they're veterans or whether they're individuals who need some extra support, we need to take care of them first. I tell people all the time, if you have a bottle of water and that bottle of water is empty, you're not going to be able to give water to anybody, including yourself. You go on an airplane, they tell you, put on the oxygen mask for yourself first before you help anybody else. We have to think that way as the United States as well. We have to take care of us first. And once we're back on our feet and doing great, then we can move forward to help other people, other countries, whatever the case may be.
Right. I want to go back to what you're saying about the more money, the whole, we still have COVID funds we haven't used. Can we use those up first before we ask for more money? You know, there's so much money out there, and that's what's causing our issues. Is there's so much money out there that's not even been used or has been put out there, that it's making our issues even worse. But there, you know, you were talking about we need to do domestically. This was a little bit ago about create things locally, right? Yes and no. I still believe in, you know, economy of scale across the do what you do best. And that would be in America or wherever. But I just think we need to not buy for certain places that don't like us, like China and Russia. All right.
You're listening to Real Estate Jerky here on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. Our host, Ed Parcaut, MBA veteran and mortgage guru, president of Lending for Living. We're talking to Jolene Daly, Republican, California Congressional candidate for District 5. That's our district that if you're listening in Modesto, parts of Stanislaus County, all of the foothills. So our signal area is now split into 3 different districts. Crazy. So, and we're going to get all of those on. But today we're talking to Jolene. If you'd like to reach out to Jolene, you can do that at joleneforcongress.com. That's joleneforcongress.com. Or you can dial her up at 209-360-9223. All right. Sorry, I had to.
That's
do
all
that
right.
little
Yeah,
thing.
I know. You always like cutting me off. You're like my wife. Anyway, before I forget, we're also going to have you live next week at Tuesday at 11 a.m. So if you have questions for Jolene, you can just send them to us or be on the live at that time, or just email or call us and we will ask her those questions. But what I was trying to get at is our biggest problem is, like, everybody wants us to do these electric cars. We can't even get that stuff we need here in the United States because they won't let us mine it. So we have to go to China or in India, other places, and then we're going to pay an arm and a leg for it. So you're asking us to do something that we can't even do right now. And there's just so much problems. So how do we fix a lot of this?
Going back to allowing it to be personal choice. If you want an electric car, okay. If you want to keep your gas car, go right ahead. Because if you look at, I believe it was this summer, several articles in which the individuals with electric cars were asked not to charge their vehicles because our power grid can't handle it. We're getting ready in the next few years to turn off another power plant in California, which is going to reduce again our electricity, our power grid. We have to increase our ability to have the power that's necessary for the individuals before we turn around and add a bunch of electric cars or a bunch of stations that are going to charge those electric cars.
Yeah, I saw a picture on. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a picture on Instagram where they had a charging station in the middle of nowhere, and it was tied to a diesel engine.
Right. It's about reality of things. Would we like to get there eventually? Maybe. Can we do it tomorrow? Can we do it by pushing through and forcing things? Absolutely not. You're just going to cause more problems. Again, it goes back to the Band-Aid component that we were talking about last week.
But people don't know that. So
I apologize. the government puts Band-Aids on things rather than dealing with them. So they're reactive rather than proactive. We need to start being proactive with things. We need to start increasing our ability to have our own energy, whatever that looks like. There are certain parts of the country that are buying energy from Russia and Canada. Why are we not doing this ourselves? Why are we buying oil from OPEC when we can have the pipeline, the Keystone Pipeline open, and we have our own oil supply here? It's interesting that the environmentalists are concerned about climate. Climate is all over the country or all over the world, yet they can do the things that are having a problem with the climate in other countries, but we can't in the United States. There's real hypocrisy there, and it makes me very angry.
I don't know if you guys watch Yellowstone at all, but they had on there, they were talking about vegan, and the fact that, they don't like the face of a cow that's getting taken care, as food, so they won't eat it. But to grow what they eat just kills everything in the ground, the snakes, the worm, that chews up everything. So at what point do you care about what you kill? Is it only if it has a really nice face, or, so it's the same thing you were talking about, hypocrisy. You do what you want to do, but don't make everybody else have to do the same thing. But yeah, there's so much we need to go back to, and that they got away from just because it was somebody's personality. I say the reason we're here is they voted for personality, not policies. And that's the problem. So what has been the biggest surprise since you started this run?
The push to finance. One of the biggest things that I have a problem with is the greed component. You already talked about lobbyists. We talked about the fact that we need to eliminate career politicians so that they continue to increase their finances. We have people that spend millions of dollars on campaigns. It's absolutely outrageous. So that makes it so a typical working class person cannot run for office. It's going to cost me, if I want to be on the ballot, it's going to cost me $1,800 just to be on the ballot. I'm not doing that. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get signatures, which I'm going to have to get approximately about 4,000 signatures in order to have that be in lieu of the fee. I don't know who has an extra $1,800 laying around, typically speaking. So there's so much that is corrupt, even in the campaign process, that it's really interesting and sad.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find those laying around somewhere.
Signatures. Oh my
okay,
gosh.
that was wrong of me, but
no, that was good though. That was, oh my gosh. Jolene, so much. You've touched on so many things that are so important. I love your accountability. You brought up water storage. It's huge here for us in the Central Valley. And you made a good point. We've got money from 2014 we voted in that's been budgeted. We've done nothing with it. And it's for water storage.
Have we done nothing with it, or have they used it for something else? Just like they, the tax money. What did they use that for? The gas tax instead of fixing our roads.
Right. Unfortunately, without a full audit.
Who's the they? So here's the thing, Jolene. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to still add line here. Is there anything else? Because the time it goes quickly, so quickly. Anything that we haven't covered that you want people to know?
I just want to ask 3 things of people. I need 3 things, and I need them here in the next 4 weeks. Like I already said, I need signatures. I need about 4,000. We're going to be getting out and walking door to door in order to get those signatures. If you can help or support in any way, I would appreciate it. I'm asking for donations, $10 to $20 from each person. If I can get 250 to 500 people to send me $10 to $20 each month, I'd have enough to fund the campaign that I want to run, the integrity that I have behind that. And the final thing that I ask everybody to do is pray. Pray for me, because I want to remain humble. I want to remain a normal, everyday person. And in order to do that, I do need prayer.
Wow. Thank you so much. Well, you've been listening to Jolene Daly, our Republican congressional candidate for District 5 right here. and you're listening, and you can reach out to Jolene, as she just said. She's looking for 3 things from us: some support, some financial support, signatures to get on the ballot, and some prayer. And you can reach out to Jolene, joleneforcongress.com. That's joleneforcongress.com, or dial her up at 209-360-9223. And when we get back, we're going to talk some more about how all of these things affect your ability to own a home and keep it. So don't go away. Welcome back to Real Estate Jerky here on Power Talk 1360 KFIV, where we always give you something to chew on. I'm Marlene Champlin, sidekick to our amazing host, Ed Parcaut, MBA veteran and president of Lending for Living. Okay, so we are talking about politics a little bit today, because we are getting ready a little bit. Well, it absolutely affects our ability to own a home. It affects interest rates. It affects who's sitting at the White House, the price of gas. Yeah, everything. I mean, we've got if we didn't ever have a lesson in it before, we certainly got a lesson in it in 2021. Right. So now we have our congressional redistricting that's happened, and we have our candidates that are running. So today we had Jolene Daly on. Ed, you've talked to Eugene
Kilbride last week.
We did have Eugene,
or a week before. We had him on before Christmas, right? Then,
right? Yeah. He's amazing. He'll be back. He's coming back, actually. We will have Simon Aslanpour, Ricky Gill, Sean Harrison, and I haven't made contact with Angelina Segala. That's the only Democrat running in District 5. And then District 13, which is covered in our signal area, in the signal of this KFIV, is Josh Harder. That is where our current congressman, which was District 10 before they resplit it, Josh Harder is going to seek re-election, but as District 13. District 13 now consists of parts of Turlock, West Modesto, Patterson, and a large part of Fresno County.
You know, that's just so weird. I mean, because so basically when he was District 10, now he automatically gets put in 13, or he had to say, I'm going to 13. Okay.
He chose. So, that was a good question we didn't ask Jolene on Mike. Since she actually lives in Turlock and the redistricting, she actually lives in the district. However,
you don't have to.
You don't have to. That's right. And she chooses to. She doesn't believe in. Neither does Kilbride, Eugene. Eugene doesn't believe in it either, and they both happen to live in the district, in the new District 5. Unlike our current congressional District 10, he does not live in his District 13, but you don't have to, as you said.
Right. So if he can do it, anybody can do it. It's just, with that, this happened, so, every couple of years we have to go see who's running, and you were talking about how important it is to know that. I mean, it's, I don't know if you heard, but Joe Rogan said that President Obama was the best president of all time. I think for me, he did say amazing things like voting has consequences. So that's the only thing I got from him.
He had amazing writers, and he could, to this day, nobody could rock a teleprompter like Barack Obama. No one.
Right. But Clinton, right, was the best connector to somebody, right? He was so charismatic. I can't say the word. Sorry.
Charismatic. Yes.
Thank you.
Very charismatic.
I mean, people talk to me,
I'm
and
sure
they're like,
Giselle agrees.
You talk to them, and you're like, just like whoever you are, he's like so connected to you, which that's got to be careful, because sometimes those people are predators, but we won't go there. I'm not smoking cigars, so let's move on.
Let's move on. Here's the thing. What I like seeing about our candidates right now for our District 5 is they are regular folk.
Yeah.
They all have regular jobs. They're not politicians. Amazingly so, actually.
And can I add to that? Because when Jolene was on Mike Douglas' show, we had a caller call in and say, how, you say you're not a politician, but a politician is somebody running for politics, right? And that's a definition or whatever. She's like, but the difference is I'm going to do my 8 years and I'm done. Right. Well, 4 for start. And then if I get reelected 8 years, and then I'm coming home like it's supposed to be. So we should need to have term limits. So that's the case. But you are right. These are regular people who most of them understand what's going on. Right. I don't know the ones we haven't had on, but the 2 so far are regular people, kind of know, hey, I know how much hamburger costs. I know how much a gallon of gas really costs. Do I have to think about this or this? Unlike the people that are in our, Washington right now have no idea what normal people are going through.
Well, yeah, no idea. And going back to the point that was made earlier, how is it somebody who gets paid $154,000 a year, for example, our congressman, how is it that they're worth millions? How does that happen at the end? Based on what?
They have good stock traders. That's what it is. Their spouse is a really good trader. And I mean that both ways.
So
what I mean by that is, so basically what happens if you look at like Nancy Pelosi, right? If you go back in time in the early 90s when Visa was going public, right? She got founder shares, which is only for founders. But she got the shares and it went into her husband, and her husband traded those. And that's how some of the stuff that they got, and they moved forward. And then every time a bill would come up that would affect them, she would push it off the floor. And one of the guys, this was back in the day where the actual news reporters actually asked real questions. And they were like, do you think you should be voting on this? And she got an attitude and, against it. I said it was Chuck Todd or not Chuck Todd, but one of the older guys. And it's like, that's when they actually did news reporting. Anymore, it's what can I do to benefit you?
From the news perspective, yeah.
How can I sell more papers? How can I sell this? Not about real information. Headlines. It's always about headlines, not necessarily what's in the article is not the headline, but they're selling headlines.
So, but Ed,
clicks. I'm sorry, they sell clicks.
So, because we're going to end up out of time again.
Is it really that time already? Jeez.
Yeah, we're getting close. Yeah. How do we as voters not do that? Not vote for somebody that turns out to be a criminal, really?
I think what you have to do is research. You have to know who you're voting for, meet them, right? Find out other people. The biggest problem we run into is we only see the side they want us to see, right? Somebody had to know them before they were running for politics, right? The problem with some of these Democrats, and I'm not picking on Democrats or whatever, I'm just saying some of these have been put in there for the career politicians are pushing people in that they want in so that they vote the way they want them to vote. That's what you need to know. If they're related to somebody that you don't like that's in politics, maybe don't vote for them.
Most of the time, people don't know that, though, Ed.
Right. Well, search their family tree. Do research.
Shake that family tree.
Do some research. That's what the problem is. We're so busy and we go to vote and we want to do all right. We just like quickly go through and check. Okay, that's it. I'm voting party lines, right? The problem with that is in California, you're voting. Sometimes there is only one party on there. That's what needs to stop. That's what we need to change. We need to get back to where everybody's on the ballot for each group, whether it's Greenpeace or whatever, the different categories that you can have there. Democrat, Republican, whatever, all the other ones that you have, the parties that are on there, they need to be on there so that you can vote for who you want to, not just it's only the top 2 and we're Democrats. I think a problem now we're going to have in District 5 is going to be the top 2 Republicans.
It's all Republicans. You got one Democrat running and they're not. And what does that say what the DNC thinks about District 5, that they are not putting anybody up?
Because they think it's all, no offense to the District 5 that's there, we're all rednecks and we just don't like them. I think that's what the problem is. I think that's what they're thinking. We're all rednecks and we have no idea. You know, we're all cow people.
You think that's
from
why they shoved
Modesto.
us in Modesto here up with the foothills?
Yeah, because we're so opinionated. They must have heard our show. Anyway,
I
most
gotta
important
wonder.
thing that we need to do is you need voting has consequences. You need to know what you're voting for. Read more than just the headline. Read more than what, you know, safe neighborhood did not mean safe neighborhood. Those kind of things. You need to be careful. They know how to manipulate us. And I don't mean persuade, I mean manipulate it, and we got to go. Yep, it's that time again. I'm getting yelled at in my ear from our producer. Gotta get out of here. Thanks again to our guest, Jolene Daly, Republican candidate for Congress, District 5. You can reach out to Jolene at 209-360-9223. That's 209-360-9223. If you missed any of today's show, you can find us via podcast on the iHeart app via your mobile device. In the weeks ahead, we'll be talking to Matt Bryant, financial advisor from TICG Inc. That's the investment consulting group, about some interesting investment programs like solo 401k, which is amazing. We'll be visiting with candidates for Stanislaus County Sheriff, both is it Sergeant Juan Alanis? Alanis, that's right. I always mess that up. And Sheriff Jeff Dursey. Get that one because he's been around forever. Please be safe out there. We're proud to live in this land of opportunity. We can still build personal wealth through home ownership. We'll keep bringing you something to chew on here at Real Estate Jerky. As you know, we normally broadcast Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 10 a.m. But NFL football changes things up time to time. But you can always find us via podcasts at any of your favorite podcast apps. Just search up Real Estate Jerky. Hey, Marlene, thanks for being here. And I hope you have a happy new year and everything you want this year.
Everything I want. I guess I better make a list. Thanks, Ed, for the great adventures ahead. I'm looking forward to 2022.
All right. My NMLS license number is still 235384, and we'll talk to you next week.